Hello and welcome to this video. My name is David Thorne. In this video we're going to be talking about Python functions for beginners. Now this is the first lesson in this one small segment, but it's going to give you a complete guide to creating and using functions. And I'm trying to cover every single possible way that you can do it without this video getting too long. So I've created 10 examples and we're going to fly through each example with a good amount of description and anything required. So without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, so a function in Python is defined by this def keyword, and so basically we're going to say def, and if you've used any other programming languages, then some you don't have to say like a function, some say func, some say fn, some say other stuff and so on. But in Python we use the def keyword and then followed by a space and then followed by the function name, and then we can have some braces or some brackets and so on, and then it follows by the return type. Now this return type is optional, but I like to put it in because I like to put it in and I like to be like this. Anyway, and in this function, the body of it is going to be calling the print function and saying, hello, welcome to Python functions. And then when we call it, so we basically give the name of the function, and then we open and then have open and close parentheses or brackets or round brackets, and it will then output on the console, hello, welcome to Python functions. That's what print does. I've got a whole bunch of videos about how print does this and what it does and etc, etc. But this is the basic function, and none is like saying void in other scenarios. So as long as you're not returning a property or a value, then it is deemed to be a none. Now you don't have to define this none parameter at work. This return type will work for itself, but I just think it's best practice to do that. Now if you're just coding for yourself and you don't really care, then leave it off. But if you're writing for professional code and proprietary code or for someone else, then it really should be added, in my opinion. Anyway, let's move on. So the second one is now a function with parameters. Now, obviously, the last one, the greet, didn't have a parameter, but now we're adding a name parameter to it. All right, and we're using so it actually has this is the variable name, and after the colon is then the actual data type of the one variable. And you can see once again, because the body is not returning anything, we've given a return type of none here. All right, now if it was returning a string, we would say return type string, but it's not returning anything. So we're just calling print, and then we're using the format separator here to then to change this placeholder to then name. And we call it basically just the same as we did the previous example, but this time we give then the name string, all right? And it outputs, hello, David. Now we are going to delve deeper in the other examples, all right? So don't panic if you see something else. We're going to go over it. Anyway, this is the basic usage of a function with one parameter, all right? So let's now move on to the next example. And as you can see, function with a return value this time. Now, this is the add function. If you've done any other videos from me, you'll understand that we use add all the time. And we've got add A and B to equal C. Let's say this return type is going to be equal to C, let's just say. And we're just going to take A plus B, and we're using the explicit return keyword to say this is returning this one value. Which also says here it's returning an integer or an int. And we can see here then the function declaration here is nicely saying this is then going to be an integer as expected. And we can now print out the value of 8 because 5 plus 3 is 8. Very, very simple. If you wanted to put a third parameter on, you do separate a comma and then whatever the name of your parameter is, followed by the data type. You don't have to give the data type of it or the type hinting. I once again just think it's good practice to do it, and I just think you should do it. Anyway, example 4, function with default parameters. So let's just go to the examples first because they speak more words than I do. the greet here without using any parameter is going to by default use David, and you see here hello comma David, and we got the placeholder for the name variable here is going to say then David. And so if the parameter is not given, it's going to default to whatever we've put on the equal sign, so the assignment. So all we're saying is, hey, this is the parameter name, and that should have type of string, and it has a default value. We're assigning it a default value of David, and so on. So if we don't declare that one parameter, then it's going to be David. And as you see, if we do give it a parameter, because it only has one parameter, it's then going to default to Bob, because that's what it's been explicitly assigned to, and we get hello Bob. So let's go to the fifth one. Now, function with keyword arguments. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, right? Now, they are first name and last name variables, all right, for the actual arguments, the parameters here, and with the type of string. And we can say hello, and then the two placeholders then are using a tuple to decide which one goes with which, and we've got first and last name here. So it should output hello, comma, David Thorne, or first name, last name, or whatever it may be. And in this first example, we can see it says hello, comma, David Thorne, followed by an exclamation mark, which is what we see here, as per all the other examples. But what's very interesting here is you can see that we're given the first argument here of last name is equal to Thorne, and then the second argument, or the last argument, of first underscore name equals David. So it doesn't matter in which order we give them, as long as they are explicit. Now, if we were to remove last name and first name as per the first one, we would then get hello Thorne David, all right? And as you can see here, we can reverse it as well. It doesn't matter about the order. The name, the key that we use here has to match that of the actual function itself. And now what we can see here is using a dictionary instead, all right? And in this dictionary, we have a key of first underscore name equals James, and then last underscore name is equal to Thorne, all right? And these two stars, if you haven't worked with dictionaries yet, don't panic, it's just an introduction. What this is saying is, hey, I want you to convert, basically, these keys and their values into parameters here, all right? So it's going to basically like expand it to be then key value pairs within inside of it. And what is basically going to happen is, prior to the actual body of the function, it is going to look like first name David, last name Thorne, exactly like this, all right? So this is happening in the background within inside of Python and using this double star, all right? It's saying I'm going to go through every single key value pair within inside of the dictionary, and it's then going to assign, then it's going to create the different parameters that match for it as well. And it then outputs hello James Thorne. So this is really a deeper dive into, and this obviously has a return type of none because we're not returning anything, okay? So let's move on. Example 6. Now, functions with variable length arguments. So we've just saw with dictionaries, we use the star. So this star is basically telling them that it's got a variable length, and we got here, we're using a tuple of type of integer, right? And there can be a variable length of it. So from anywhere from 0 length all the way up to whatever length the total amount Python allows. And off the top of my head, I don't know that. But inside of here, it's passing then those arguments to the sum function, and it's then going to sum all of the arguments up. Now, this is doing exactly the same thing. So when we call it, we can call it with as many arguments as we want, right, comma separated as per normal. And this will basically make this a tuple, all right? And this is what this star is doing in the background. So, yeah, this is what it's doing. There's a whole other explanation to what's going on in the background here. But if you give a star on it, then you're basically saying that you can use as many arguments as you want, one after the other from here, okay? And it will output 10. So just have a play around with it with yourself, and up and coming videos that I'm going to do is going to dive deeper into this. So But this is just supposed to be a complete guide to creating and using functions. So if you do see this, then you know what it's meaning roughly. So 7, functions with variable length keyword arguments. So now we have a dictionary once again. And this is the thing that I want you to understand, is the last one was using a tuple, right? And this is now using a dictionary. And this is the star once again, all right? So this is now saying, if we come to the example, it's way better. It's then saying, name David, age 44, city is equal to Dortmund, right? These are key value pairs, all separated through a comma, right? So they're being acted upon as if they were just normal parameters, all right? But what this is going to do is it's going to say, hey, what I want you to do is I want you to collect all this together and I want you to put it into a dictionary. So I want you to convert it to a dictionary for me. So it's like the reverse of what we did the other time. Before we used the dictionary here on, which example was it? We used the dictionary here and we did the opposite, all right? But now in this example, what we're doing is we are doing the opposite of that. We are using name variables here, or key variables and so on. And now this double star in the background is going to add it to a dictionary called kwargs, and we can then access all of the items in it through using the items function, and then we can iterate through it with a key and value and print out output name, age and city as per here in the output. So this is a really interesting thing that you can do with it, and to be able to use those types we have to import them from typings as well, all right? But and once again it's a return type of none. So it's a super interesting way if you have a dynamic amount of inputs that you want to have into a function, then these are different ways that you can do it. And using a dictionary, make sure that you get some form of uniqueness in the keys as well, all right? So let's go on to number 8. Now just to define the factorial function that takes an integer and returns an integer. And this is then a recursive function, right? Because you can see here that if n is equal to 1, then just return 1, because there's no other numbers that we have to do on a factorial, all right? And let's just say that we are on 5 here. So just for people that don't know what a factorial is, it's perfectly fine. A factorial is going to be then, if I can type properly, is this and this, okay? So it's going to be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And this is commonly written in mathematics would be then 5 factorial. It's then using the exclamation mark. So 5 exclamation mark is equal to 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So this is what's happening here, right? It's taking the n and then it's multiplying it by the remainder here, all right? So that's what a factorial is, all right? But it will recursively keep going and going and going until n is equal to 1, and then it will return 1. So at one point, it's only going to be multiplying by 1, all right? And example number 9. So lambdas. Now, don't panic. If you don't know what lambda functions are, don't panic. It's exactly the same thing, and I'm going to make a separate video just about lambdas, all right? This is the parameter, all right? This is then the body of the function, and it's saying x times by x, okay? And that's the square of it. So what we're saying is this square is a variable, and it is of type lambda, right? Which is a function basically. So this is then converting it to be a function, a square function, sorry. And its only argument then, in this sense, is being inferred is then type integer, okay? And but there it's saying any because it doesn't know what it is, but we know that in the body of it, it's going to be 2 integers, all right? But you could be 2 floats or whatever. And obviously if you put, yeah, that's basically it, all right? But this is the lambda. But like I said, I'm going to make another video about it, but it's definitely something for you to understand that it exists and you can do it. And this is the syntax. So now number 10 is nested functions, okay? And so here we have then our standard function, which is then def outer underscore function, takes an argument of text, which is type string, and then returns a string. And when we look at the usage of it, we see outer function hello, and it returns then hello in uppercase. All right, so we can look inside and we can see then an inner function. All right, and we know that because it's then define inner function, and that doesn't take any parameters, and it returns a string. But what's happening in this is it's saying, hey text, I want you to uppercase and then return that one value, right? And so with inside of our function, it's first coming down to the return function, which is calling the inner function, which is then returning the uppercase version of the text. All right, so you have to remember that these are the calls that go first. This will then be put, let's just call it into memory, so it knows that it's there and it knows the scope of it as well. And then the text is only within inside of the scope of this one function, because it comes to the first level and sees, hey, I've got a text here, so I'm going to use this instead. So this is now basically a complete guide to be able to creating and using functions, but it's still on a very, very basic level. All right, and the other videos that I'm going to do as a follow-up to this are going to delve even deeper into these different topics. Now, functions are just as important as variables and just as important as other stuff inside of programming itself. And obviously it's a huge part in mathematics too. So it's really important if you're going to be working with lots of numbers and you want clean code and you want reusable code, etc. There's a whole bunch of other good things to do. And it's super important that you understand functions through and through, all right, and how they work. Because you're going to use them all the time, and especially with print is a function, length is a function, and so on. There's so many different things that you've already seen, and here text.upper is a function, and so on. So if you're not willing to learn functions, then just give up now, because it's going to be a very difficult future for you. But it's not difficult to do because you use functions all the way around in your life all the time. Anyway, with that said, thank you very much for watching. I really do hope that you learned something out of this. And if you didn't learn anything, I really need to know, I want to know why, so I can enhance my instructional techniques. I can make my lessons better. Or was the content wrong? Did I not go into enough detail? And if I didn't go into any detail or enough detail in something, it's because I'm probably going to make another video, or this is supposed to be just a very abstract overview of that one topic, all right? And I tend to make like half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour videos when I go right all the way deep into something, okay? But these videos are supposed to be there to have like a very abstract overview, but giving you more than enough information to move forward. All right. With that said, thank you very much for watching, and yeah, there's other videos to come in this one series, so please feel free to browse the playlist or my channel for any other videos. It would be super awesome if you could give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and it would be really great if you got any questions or any concerns or any ideas, and put them in the comments below, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions as well if you just need some assistance to better understand Python and functions. All right, thanks very much then. I will see you in the next video, which is more than likely on the screen right now for you to tap. Ciao, bye-bye.